Let's talk Red Bull. Red Bull coming in, Corey Burke in free agency, three homegrown players, including Peter Stroud, a very highly ranked attacking midfielder. Brother of Jared Stroud, funny enough. A couple of left back depth options at homegrown as well. We've brought back Elias Manuel from Gremio in a permanent transfer. Kyle Duncan is back on loan yet again. And as of yesterday, it is almost official that Dante Van Zier, the Belgian striker from Union, is officially a New York Red Bull player. I believe the announcement just needs to be made. Um, on the way out, some big names out. Omar Sow, one of the striker options that we thought was going to be the next guy, has been transferred out. Aaron Long, of course, into LAFC. Caden Clark goes back on loan, and Jake LaCava taken in the expansion draft. Um, Other news that just broke today, this morning. Patrick Klamala, the $6 million man out of Celtic from 2 years ago, looks to be on his way to Israel. Again, another one that just needs pen to paper signing, but looks like the designated player experiment once again has failed. That is now, what, three of our last four designated players that have just swing and miss.
I didn't even realize Kumalo was considered a designated player for you guys.
Oh, he was. What would you say they still need in terms of movement?
I would say, what are your thoughts on like Curtis Afori? Because I'm looking at left back right now with the assumption that Tolkien's probably on his way out. I would say wouldn't be shocking to see at the end of this year. And outside of Tolkien, he's the only other one listed on transfer market at left back. So I would say
Yes.
maybe someone next in line for Tolkien. Like I don't know if Afori's ready to be the next guy up. I mean, you would know better than I would, but that's kind of where I'm looking. Like
Yeah,
fullback,
the
maybe even right back too. Dylan Niels is the only right back on roster.
so Kyle Duncan is still technically a
Oh yeah.
rumor,
I
so
forgot that
he
they.
he's through
Yeah,
the door. Um,
that makes sense then.
Curtis Afori is the most of the two. So Jaden Reed is the other one that came in that can play as a left winger or a left back, which worked good in the 3 or 5 back that we use. Curtis Afori is the closest MLS ready homegrown that we have in the defensive back. Um, so he probably could step in and do it. I wouldn't mind seeing some depth there, but I also would like to see some center back depth as well. Um, Not a ton of options there once Aaron Long went over across the country there. So you've got Reyes and Nealis who are going to be your two go-to guys. Would like to have some options maybe if we're going to go for a three that we don't have to stick Dylan Nealis at center back. Um,
Yeah,
Other
I
than
mean
that,
you still have Hassan and Dom as well.
yeah, he ever since FC Cincinnati took him, he was kind of eh after that. So
Are
there
you
are
trying to
options.
insinuate that FCC ruined him?
I am absolutely. If he didn't take him, he would have grown in Red Bull 2 and would have been the next Aaron Long.
Shots
Um,
fired. Enemies of
yeah.
the pod, Cincinnati.
Enemies of the pod. Nobody is safe. Um, I think I enjoy the way that this Red Bull team is going. All the way up to re-signing or contract extensions, right? I mean, you see Lewis Morgan gets a contract extension, which is the first time in a while I've seen a top player from Red Bull not just allowed to walk out the door. I mean, Dax McCarty, Bradley Wright Phillips, Luis Robles, Sasha Question. I mean, the list goes on of all the players that we've just let walk out the door who were kind of the bigger pieces of our team. This is the first time I've seen somebody who's put up good numbers that wasn't either immediately sold or just let to walk. So really excited about that. Um, the signing of Dante Vanzier is massive. I think this is the type of striker that we need. Klamala was not clinical enough at Celtic. He wasn't proven. I'm going to call him DV. Makes it easy. DV was 10 goals in 20 games in Belgium. He was Union's top scorer, and I think he was top 5 in the Golden Boot race in Belgium this year. It's
See, when you were
exciting.
saying Union before, I thought you were talking about Union Berlin.
No, no, it's Union San something. Um, but all the reports say just Union. That's how they're known there.
Okay.
The outside back quality, again, adding Duncan is good. Ofori, I think, is going to be ready for that step up. Um, and of course, Tolkien's still here. I know we're talking about him moving. I would really be surprised if they move him mid-season if he doesn't leave before the season. So if he's still here on day one, I do believe he'll be here till the end of the year.
Mhm.
Because that's just kind of the Red Bull way. They will let him go to, they'll make their under the table handshake, you know, book transaction for John Tolkien to Leipzig at the end of the year. They don't care. Um, and outside of that, I think I think the team has another year under their belt, which is important. They had kind of just thrown a bunch of pieces together last year and did really well for what they were expected to do. So I think with the extra year with Struber at the helm, the additions they brought in, I'm excited for this team.
Yeah. Did you want to go through like each of the new players that they're bringing in?
Um, Not necessarily. I think what we can do is just talk about the biggest one that we're excited for. Like I said, for me, it's DV from Union. I think Dante is going to be a really great addition for us.
Yeah, I
Do you
mean,
have somebody different?
I would say probably that would be the biggest get for you guys. I really like the signing with Corey Burke as well, but I would say DV is definitely like the bigger, more high profile one for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that we never had was impact subs off the bench for like 3 years. We were relying on Tom Barlow to step in and do work, and it just didn't work that way. Um, so now we've got somebody who's that was his role on a very, very good Philly team. So I think that's a good addition there that gives us another piece when we're trying to press really high.
Yeah, I would say overall it's been like a pretty average window. I don't think there's been teams in this window that have busted out some way bigger signings, but I don't think Red Bull really did anything bad in their window. Like I think they kind of stocked up in the areas they needed to, and um, already had a pretty strong base to begin with. I mean, I think this is a team that's going to compete for the playoffs again. Not to jump into like deep dive territory, but
Yeah. Give me a grade then. Grade them on a letter scale.
so what I've been doing in the background is not to spoil for people that don't know, but we have like grades for every single transfer in. And I've been calculating my average grade based on what I've put in the PowerPoint.
You're such a nerd.
Red Bull, I shut up. Red Bull averaged a B minus for me, which I feel like is pretty fair. Like probably a slightly above average window.
Yeah, I
That
have them
that
at a
you know
B.
what I will say though that grade doesn't take into account DV. We didn't add DV to the PowerPoint, so I still
Yeah,
think
'cause he's
B
not
minus is
technically
probably
announced
fair for
yet.
me.
Yeah, I've got him at a B plus once Dante gets across the line. I think like I said, I think they hit all the important pieces that they needed to um, without losing a ton. I mean, they lost Aaron Long, but the core is there. You've got all your center mids are coming back, which is our deepest position. Tolkien's still here. Lewis Morgan is signed on. I think it's a B plus for me. And if they can get a center back or two that can add some real quality, it goes higher from there.
Yeah, I think that's probably pretty fair. I would say anywhere in like the B range is probably a pretty fair grade.
All righty.